Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Rada Jabour from Lebanon, from an organization called CAFA. I'm very happy to introduce this panel to you. This panel is about the last girl first. And why the last girl? Because as we saw in the previous panels and what we will see in this current panel, the women that are mostly represented in prostitution are the last girl. They're the most vulnerable and marginalized in the society. Coming from Lebanon, where my organization works with women in prostitution, the last girl is mostly the Syrian woman refugee. A refugee that is married at an early age, and forced married, of course. We see also a lot of migrant domestic workers in prostitution in Lebanon, and Lebanese women and girls that are very marginalized. This is mostly the profile of women in prostitution. We're gonna start this panel. We have 4 panelists. We're gonna start the first panel with Gerhard Trabert from Armut and Gesundheit in Germany, an organization working with vulnerable groups inside Germany and in foreign countries. The floor is yours. You can talk.
Man bewegt sich auf ganz dünnem Eis als Mann hier. Man stürzt gleich ab. Ja, zu Recht. Ja, Armut führt in die Prostitution und Prostitution in die Armut. So habe ich meinen kurzen Input überschrieben. Ich komme nochmal auf das Thema Armut zu sprechen. Armut und deren Beziehungen, deren Auswirkungen auf die Gesundheit, auf die Entstehung von Krankheit, ist im Kontext der Armutsdebatte immer noch ein unterschätztes und vernachlässigtes Teilgebiet. Obwohl gerade an diesen engen Korrelationen deutlich wird, dass Armut und gerade eben auch Armutsprostitution in einem der reichsten Länder der Erde nicht lediglich ein Verzicht auf Konsumgüter, auf Annehmlichkeiten, auf gesellschaftliche Teilhabe bedeutet, sondern häufig mit körperlichem, seelischem Leid, mit deutlich höheren Erkrankungsraten bis hin zu einer deutlich geringeren Lebenserwartung einhergeht. Die Menschenrechte, deren Einhaltung und deren Schutz scheinen sehr stark mit der Frage des wirtschaftlichen, des ökonomischen Wohlergehens verbunden zu sein. Das Thema Menschenrechtsverletzungen hat in meinen Augen sehr viel mit der gesellschaftlichen Realität von Verarmung und Bereicherung, von Armut und Reichtum zu tun. Wir müssen, wenn wir über Armut reden, über Prostitution reden, auch immer über Ausbeutung, über Reichtum, über unsere kapitalistischen Demokratien reden. Das Thema Armut hat wiederum sehr viel mit dem gesellschaftlichen Phänomen der Sexarbeit, der Prostitution zu tun. Und Prostitution ist eng verwoben mit den Themen, das haben wir heute mehrfach gehört, Gewalt und Menschenhandel. Armutsprostitution nimmt weltweit und besonders auch in Deutschland zu. Dieses Phänomen wird in unserer Gesellschaft und weltweit tabuisiert. In Deutschland nimmt Prostitution von Bürgern, die aufgrund ihrer finanziellen Situation in eine Notlage geraten sind, unter anderem, und das ist ein strukturelles Problem, unter anderem auch durch zu niedrige soziale Transferleistungen, bei uns wird das Arbeitslosengeld II oder Sozialgeld genannt, gerade durch diese niedrige finanzielle Unterstützung ist das mit bedingt. So finanzieren von Einkommensarmut betroffene Menschen ihr Studium oder auch die Miete und sonstige finanzielle Forderungen, die für ein Leben der Partizipation und der Würde in Deutschland wichtig sind, durch Prostitution. Viele praktische Erfahrungen deuten darauf hin, dass dieses Phänomen bei uns zunimmt. Zudem, ich habe es schon gesagt, ist Prostitution in Deutschland sehr stark mit Menschenhandel verbunden. Wir haben viele Fakten und Daten gehört, gerade in Deutschland kommen sehr viele Menschen, Frauen aus Osteuropa, 25% aus Rumänien, 17% aus Bulgarien und 11% aus Ungarn in unser Land, um sich, ihre Familien zu ernähren. Immer wieder dieses Thema Armut, das verkannt wird. Sie haben viele Zahlen gehört. Einige muss ich Ihnen einfach noch einmal mitgeben. Es hat mich auch und es macht mich sehr betroffen, wenn ich das so differenziert und so fokussiert hier von allen Seiten wieder erfahre. 92% der Prostituierten haben in ihrer Kindheit Gewalt erfahren. 43% der Mädchen wurden sexuell missbraucht. 52% körperlich misshandelt. Das hat eine Studie des Bundesfamilienministeriums schon im Jahr 2004 ergeben. Sie haben gehört, 70% haben eine posttraumatische Belastungsstörung. Und damit ist diese Prozentzahl ist doppelt so hoch wie bei Soldaten, die aus Kriegseinsätzen zurückkehren. Dann, Sie haben von den Krankheiten gehört, Suchtkrankheiten, sexuell übertragbare Krankheiten, viele andere. Ich möchte das jetzt nicht mehr wiederholen. Eine Studie aus Kanada hat ergeben, dass Sexarbeiterinnen eine 40-fach höhere Sterblichkeitsrate haben als in der Normalbevölkerung. Die Ursachen sind häufig Mord, Unfall, die Folgen von einer Alkoholkrankheit und von illegalem Drogenmissbrauch. Das Mordrisiko ist 18-fach höher als in der Normalbevölkerung. Also ich bin ja quasi so ein bisschen die Schnittstelle aus Empirie, aus Erfahrung und Wissenschaft. Meine Erfahrung basiert auf über 25 Jahren Arbeit mit wohnungslosen Menschen. In Deutschland haben wir mittlerweile 800.000 wohnungslose Menschen. Viele geflüchtete Menschen sind darunter, aber auch viele Menschen aus Osteuropa, viele Männer und Frauen, die hier keine Unterkunft mehr finden, aus den verschiedensten Gründen. Aber ein Hauptgrund, der auch in diesem Kontext immer wieder zu kurz kommt, sind sogenannte Life Events, sind dramatische Schicksalsschläge, die Menschen entwurzeln und in die Obdachlosigkeit führen. Ungefähr 1/4 der Betroffenen sind Frauen. Und da habe ich in all den Jahren immer wieder miterleben müssen, dass Frauen sich aufgrund dieser Lebenssituation, ja, man kann sagen, prostituieren fast müssen, um zu überleben. Wir kennen das Phänomen der latenten Wohnungslosigkeit. Was bedeutet das? Das bedeutet, dass Frauen nicht auf der Straße leben, sondern irgendwo noch eine Unterkunft bekommen. Meistens bekommen sie die Unterkunft von einem Mann und er erwartet sexuelle Verfügbarkeit. Entspricht die Frau nicht diesen Erwartungen, ist sie Gewalt ausgesetzt. Und ich habe es immer wieder erlebt, dass Frauen mir gesagt haben, Doc, was soll ich machen? Ich lasse ihn halt ran, dann kann ich dort schlafen und das geht mir einigermaßen gut. Wir kennen auch den Begriff des sogenannten ein Verhalten von Menschen in sehr schwierigen, prekären Situationen. Auch in diesem Kontext, den wir heute hier so besprechen, häufig. Gesagt, sie prostituieren sich, um einfach überleben zu können. Und das ist ein Indiz für ein Versagen unseres Staates. Lassen Sie mich aber noch mal was Persönliches sagen. Es wurde mutig, engagiert und differenziert über die Erfahrungen berichtet. Eine Banane, die mich aber zutiefst berührt, irritiert und sensibilisiert hat. Während einer Visite im Krankenhaus als Stationsarzt toucht mir eine Patientin auf den Po. Ich war gelähmt, ich war irritiert, ich war voller Ekel. Was nimmt dieser Mensch, in diesem Fall diese Frau, sich für ein Recht, mich hier so zu berühren? Ich bin dann erstmal aus dem Zimmer raus, habe die Visite unterbrochen und es hat mir aber gezeigt, und das würde ich vielen Männern wünschen, dass sie mal so eine Erfahrung sammeln. Ich glaube, viele Männer können sich nicht vorstellen, was das bedeutet, wenn man das dann so banalisiert. Naja, war nur mal ein Klaps auf den Po oder nur mal an die Brust gegriffen oder sonst. Da fängt das an, dieses Objekthafte. Und das selbst zu spüren als Mann in dieser wirklich ja banalen Situation, das ist schon etwas, was mich mein Leben lang begleitet. Ja? So berührt worden zu sein und zu spüren, wie demütigend das war, wie verletzend, ja, dass da ein Grenzbereich überschritten wurde, das darf nicht sein. Und da kann ich nur erahnen, ich kann mir es nicht vorstellen, was es bedeutet, als Frau in der Situation einer Prostituierten gedemütigt, ausgenutzt, Gewalt zu erfahren. Aber das ist leider eine Realität und gegen die wollen wir ja vorgehen. Ich möchte auch noch etwas persönlich hinzufügen, das ist eben schon genannt worden, die Situation von Menschen, die zu uns flüchten. Gerade Deutschland hat sehr viele Menschen aufgenommen. Wir sind momentan in einer sehr schwierigen Phase. Die Willkommenskultur scheinen wir so ein bisschen zu verlieren. Das darf nicht sein. Es ist das absolute Recht eines jeden Menschen, vor Unterdrückung, vor Krieg, vor Armut zu fliehen und in die reichen Länder zu fliehen. Es ist paradox. Die Armut, gerade in Afrika, ist mit verursacht durch die Kolonialzeit, durch die Ausbeutung dieser reichen europäischen Länder. Und jetzt lassen wir die Menschen im Mittelmeer ertrinken und schotten unsere Grenzen ab und sagen, ihr wollt nur von unserem Reichtum profitieren. Das ist unglaublich. Und ich war mit der Sea-Watch im Mittelmeer. Das kann man sich nicht vorstellen, wenn man dort so ein kleines Boot entdeckt. Und da sind dann 150, 160 Menschen drauf. 90% können nicht schwimmen. Es sind Frauen und Kinder drauf auf diesem Boot. Und wir haben sie an Bord genommen. Und ich kann mich an eine Frau erinnern, die mit 2 kleinen Mädchen geflohen ist aus Gambia. Und wir haben gefragt, warum dieser lebensgefährliche Weg, diese Flucht. Und sie hat gesagt, ich habe das Leid einer Genitalverstümmelung in meinem Heimatland erfahren und ich will meine Töchter davor bewahren. Ein 16-jähriges Mädchen, das auch auf der Sea-Watch war, hatte Angst, schwanger zu sein, weil sie vergewaltigt wurde. Wir haben einen Schwangerschaftstest gemacht, sie war nicht schwanger. Dann wird häufig argumentiert, wie kann man dann als schwangere Frau fliehen? Warum sind die Frauen schwanger? Weil sie vergewaltigt werden auf ihrer Flucht. Wir grenzen uns ab hier in Europa. Wir schließen vieler Frauen in den Flüchtlingslagern. Und davor schließt Europa die Augen. Und das macht mich unfassbar. Und wir haben zunehmend jetzt hier bei geflüchteten Frauen, die hier bei uns scheinbar in Sicherheit sind, das Phänomen, dass hier auch die Armutsprostitution um sich greift. Ich weiß von Städten, auch gerade in Italien gibt es Städte, wo das gang und gäbe ist, dass Frauen sich prostituieren müssen, um überhaupt zu überleben, weil sie in die Illegalität auch gedrängt werden. So, ich nenne immer gern einen Dänen, der für mich, wir haben viel Negatives jetzt hier besprochen, zu Recht, das muss auch genannt werden, skandalisiert werden und das muss abgeschafft werden. Jesper Juhl ist ein Däne, er ist Familientherapeut. Und er hat einen Begriff geprägt im Verhältnis von Eltern zu ihren Kindern. Und er sagt, dieser Begriff heißt Gleichwürdigkeit. Diesen Begriff, das ist jetzt für die Dolmetscher vielleicht schwierig, diesen Begriff gibt es nicht in der deutschen Sprache. Es gibt es wohl in anderen Sprachen, in skandinavischen Sprachen. Für mich ist dieser Begriff etwas ganz Elementares, denn er drückt aus, wie wichtig es ist, mit Respekt, mit Würde einander zu begegnen. Dieser Begriff der Gleichwürdigkeit muss die Basis jeglicher Kommunikation und Beziehungsebene sein, gerade auch zwischen Mann und Frau. Es ist wichtig, Haltung einzunehmen. Wir haben heute sehr viele, also alle tolle Referentinnen gehabt, Menschen, die selbst in der Situation waren, betroffen waren, darunter denke ich immer noch leiden, aber den Mut haben, hier darüber zu reden. Das ist Haltung, das ist Engagement. Ich habe es gestern schon angedeutet auf unserem Meeting im Institut Français. Ich finde Stefan Essel, ein Franzose, bewundernswert, was er im Alter von 95 Jahren geschrieben hat. Empört euch diesen Aufsatz nochmal zu seiner Biografie. Er ist in Berlin aufgewachsen, musste vor dem Nazi-Deutschland fliehen, hat in der Resistance gegen das Nazi-Deutschland gekämpft, war im KZ Buchenwald, war einer der wenigen, der fliehen konnte, aber war dann zusammen mit dem UN-Vize-Generalsekretär bei der Deklaration der Menschenrechte mitbeteiligt. Und er hat eben im Jahre 2010 diesen Artikel geschrieben und in diesem Artikel kritisiert er, wie Europa mit den Menschenrechten umgeht. In dieser Streitschrift kritisiert Essel den Umgang in Europa mit armen Menschen und der Großteil in der Prostitution gefangener Menschen ist von Armut betroffen. Dies tut er, indem er die gezielte Unterdrückung, den Verlust von Menschenrechten beanstandet und die Macht des Finanzkapitalismus anprangert. Und darum geht es gerade auch in Deutschland. Denn Bordelle zahlen viel Geld für die Community, für Städte. Und das ist Geld, was man gerne nimmt und verschließt die Augen vor dem Leid und der Ausbeutung und der Gewalt, die dahinter steht. Er schließt mit den Worten, Neues schaffen heißt Widerstand leisten heißt Neues schaffen. Wir sollten uns alle empören, wie mit Menschen, die sich prostituieren, die in der Armutsprostitution gefangen sind, in unserer Gesellschaft umgegangen wird, wie über deren Lebenssituation unzureichend, teilweise Fakten ignorierend und Zusammenhänge negierend berichtet wird. Fangen wir an, Widerstand zu leisten gegenüber einer unsozialen, ungerechten Politik, uns konstruktiv und konsequent zu empören, in Solidarität mit und Beteiligung von betroffenen Menschen. Stefan Essel formuliert dies sehr deutlich. Macht euch klar, was euch stört und empört und dann versucht herauszufinden, was ihr konkret dagegen unternehmen könnt. Die Umsetzung und gesetzliche Realisierung des nordischen Modells in Deutschland wären ein zentraler und wichtiger Schritt. Armutsprostitution zu verhindern und zu beseitigen und den betroffenen Menschen wieder ein Leben in Würde zu ermöglichen. Danke.
Thank you very much for showing who's the last girl in Germany and speaking about different forms of oppressions that are at the intersection with prostitution. We're going to move to Meji. Meji is a survivor from South Africa and a leader. She's the founder of KWANELE, an organization that mobilizes survivors and women in prostitution in South Africa.
Thank you and good afternoon. I wish I could say that in Germany. I don't know how it is said in German, but I'll settle then for using my language and say Molweni, which means equally good afternoon. My name is Meji, and as Gerhard mentioned, I'm the founder and the leader of the first of its kind in Africa, a survivor movement. I salute my fellow sister survivors this afternoon here, the organizers of this amazing conference, CAP International, Solworthy and Armut, and Gesundheit in Deutschland. I'm hoping to be pronouncing those correctly and using my Afrikaans. I'll begin by saying that prostitution is neither sex nor work, nor is it a free choice. In the many years that I was prostituted in the streets in my beautiful city of Cape Town in South Africa, I have not come across one single woman who said they grew up dreaming of this very exploitative practice as a career. Not one of them said they dreamed of being the best paid sex worker or prostitute ever. Instead, what I heard women saying to me was that they did this as a means of survival for themselves and their families. They said they endured the pain of unwanted sex with strangers to earn a living for themselves and their families. They maintained that what they wanted was decent, dignified, and proper employment or work. This points out clearly that they never recognized their exploitation and paid rape as work or decent work to begin with. Although prostitution may seem or appear or even be presented to provide some financial benefit or relief to women, it has not lifted any women out of poverty. Instead, prostituted women come out of prostitution poorer than what they were when they entered the system of prostitution. They come out even scarred internally, physically, and psychologically. The very personal and private nature of the engagement in this practice renders prostituted women vulnerable to many forms of exploitation, including violence, which is unevitable, rape, disease, unwanted pregnancies, abortions, and murder, to mention a few. Those who argue that this exploitative practice should be recognized as work and should be decriminalized argue falsely that there is a distinction between voluntarily and forced prostitution. They argue that sex work is good, but also agree with us that prostitution and sex trafficking are bad. Sex trafficking is the means and prostitution is usually the destination, or most of the time. The level and the nature of violence experienced by all who are bought, sold, and exploited within the system of prostitution is the same, whether people are claiming that the other came in voluntarily or the other is forced. The bottom line is that the level of violence is the same. I am a black woman born at the dawn of democracy in South Africa. I have witnessed personally the intersectionality of race, class, and sexism within the system of prostitution. And I'm sad to say that more than 25 years since Mandela walked out of prison, a large majority of South African women and girls remain victims of systematic poverty, gender inequality, and men's violence against women. Despite our relative wealth as a medium-income country, many black women and girls are marginalized by a patriarchal capitalist system. South Africa's official unemployment levels are estimated at 27.5% among black women. The rate of unemployment estimated as close to 49% in South Africa. Prostitution is chosen for us by our colonial past, persistent inequalities, apartheid, poverty, past sexual and physical abuse. Our patriarchal society is also a factor that continues to perpetuate the system of prostitution. The system of prostitution has always rendered poor black women vulnerable to exploitation by mostly white privileged men. The story of Sarah Baartman, the very first reported South African victim of the system of prostitution and sex trafficking, is the tragic figure of the colonized body. After being moved to Paris, she became the subject of scientific paintings projecting her as the remains of prehistoric human bodies. Her genitals in particular were the subject of interest and attention for scientists. Her traffickers have repeatedly been offered money to display it to an academic audience. She was finally subjected to prostitution in private parties at first, then in brothels, and died of an unknown disease, perhaps smallpox or syphilis, in 1815. The tragic story that objectifies her body demonstrates the clear intersections between race, class, sexism, and discrimination. I know that I cannot undo the damage that was caused or done to Sarah Bartman and other women who have died at the hands of the men who buy us in the system of prostitution and the pimps and brothel owners who sell us for their own financial gain. But all I can do today is to summon the courage to speak the naked but healing truth that must comfort all these women wherever they may be by speaking against the recognition of this very exploitative system and practice of prostitution as work, sexual and free choice. And I will end off by quoting our father, Nelson Mandela. This is what he had to say with regards to the system of prostitution. For every woman and girl violently attacked, we reduce our humanity. For every woman forced into unprotected sex because men demand this, we destroy dignity and pride. Every woman who has to sell her life for sex, we condemn to a lifetime in prison. For every moment we remain silent, we conspire against our women. For every woman infected with HIV, we destroy a generation. KWANELE, enough is enough. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Meji. No words to describe the power in your words. We're going to move to Mrs. Bisho Katka. Oh, sorry, Mr. Bisho Katka from Mighty Nepal. He's the director of Mighty Nepal, a frontline organization in Nepal.
Good afternoon, very good afternoon, everyone. My name is Biswa Khadka, representing Mighty Nepal, an organization fighting against human trafficking since 27 years. It was wonderful to be here in this Congress, and thanks to the organizers and courageous survivors sharing their stories, who always inspired us to work for the benefit of the survivors of trafficking and sexual exploitation. I would like to start with a case, the last girl I met a few days ago in Mighty Nepal. Ishika, her name changed, left school and ran away to Kathmandu with the influence of a friend. Maybe I take this mic in hand. Sorry. When she was in the grade 8, and she started working in a dance bar. Some days later, her mother found her working in this indecent activities as a bar dancer. She requested her and she took her back to this village. But later, a few days later, she again ran away and started working in a dance bar as a dancers and waiters, and where she was exploited every day by the owner and the customer. This is a story of thousands, example of thousands of girls in Nepal going through everyday life. There's another case story. My friend from Malawi is here. Recently, a month ago, I've received an email from a girl who was in Malawi, went to Malawi to work in a club, but after a few months, she was forced to go with a client, and she refused. And these owners were so powerful with the political connection and the money and everything. So they were scared to inform the organization. But finally she could get the courage and informed us. So immediately with the help of police and ECPAT group in Malawi, we rescued them, and they are waiting for justice, and which is taking very, very long. And they are frustrated. Every day they're calling me when they are going to come back to Nepal. So we all need to work together to end this violence and abuse. And after even the rescue, they are not getting through the access to the justice. So what are the status of trafficking in Nepal? It says that more than 12,000 girls are trafficked every year from Nepal. Recent studies by Walk Free Foundation, there's more than 229,000 people Nepalese are subject to the violence and slavery. And even the girls who are trafficked into commercial sex, at the age of 7. Manifestations of trafficking and commercial sexual exploitation of children are categorized in 3 different areas. Nepal does not have brothels, but we have different kind of setups like restaurants, guest house, bars, where these girls are brought and forced to work. Cross-border trafficking. Nepal shares open border with India, 1,500 kilometers, no visa, no passports required. And they are trafficked for commercial sex in the largest red light area in the world, in Mumbai and other part of the country. Overseas trafficking means trafficking to Middle East in the name of household work, housemaid. They are trafficked. And other countries like, as I said, Malawi, Kenya in the African continent, which is unbelievable and unexpected. We have conducted a recently, not recently, it's quite some time ago, we have conducted a research in the internal trafficking setup and interviewed more than 299 girls. We found out that they were below 18, 15.4% were age of below 18. And more than 65% of these women who are working in this kind of setup are forced to come out from the villages. It is also shows that there are more than 12,000 cabin dance and restaurants in Kathmandu Valley, where estimated more than 50,000 girls and women are working in this sector. This is a research by another organization, Free the Slave, in 2009. And nearly half of these workers were reported to be forced to go out with the customers to have a sex. There were over 25,000 dance bar and cabin restaurants across the country. This is a Nepal Youth Survey. The female workers in Kathmandu Valley originated mainly from outside of the Kathmandu Valley, comprising across the caste and different ethnic groups. It is also reported that at least 40% of female workers are below 18 years of age. Female workers in the entertainment sector faced many problems from the owners, client, police, and co-workers, including the no day off, even during illness, no appointment letters, and sexual abuse, harassment, and all these things that research we found out. And another, as I said, that the manifestation of trafficking that coming up in different forms. Another forms of trafficking as the name of marriage. Then many Korean men are coming to Nepal to get married to Nepali women. And there are approximately 1,000 female migrants who have come to Korea through marriage bureaus who sell big dreams of rich and happy life in Korea. Citizenship upon arriving in Korea, job opportunity, and good family life. It is reported that these women face several problems. Only will Koreans seek foreign brides, and they do not treat women with respect. Marriage bureaus give false counseling to these women, and they think they could escape once they reach in Korea. So there are a lot of this marriage bureau set up in Kathmandu, who charges huge amount of money to get this fixed. Recently, we have And in 2018, we have rescued more than 30 girls from exploitative situation in dance bars and cabin restaurants. And 9 girls were rescued from brothels in Agra in India. And out of 5 girls, 3 of them were minors. Mighty Nepal also worked around 2,500 women, girls, about the risk of brutalities and forced prostitution. The women and children who were intercepted at Indo-Nepal borders are brought to Mighty Nepal's transit home and are sensitized on the hazards of human trafficking and forced prostitution. There are figures that shows our achievement from establishment to 2017, and this is what we have achieved so far in 2018. We intercepted more than 2,500 girls who are in high risk, because, as I said, that Nepal-India borders are open, and we have set up from east to west, where we stand like a police to monitor illegal movement of trafficking of young girls. Situation. Also, we file legal cases and prosecute traffickers. And last year, 57 cases have been filed in the court. Equally, Mighty Nepal also helps to protect and provide legal services to rape survivors. And 125 cases of rape have been recorded. And yes, and also legal counseling. 1,400 legal counseling was provided to the victims of different forms of exploitation and abuse. This is another recent rescue operation we have conducted. One of the largest rescue and repatriation. 147 women and 32 men were allegedly illegally transported to, smuggled to India, and from India to Middle East. So we got this information, and immediately we acted with the Indian counterpart and Indian anti-human trafficking units, and we were able to rescue them from border between Myanmar and India called Moreh. It's in Manipur, state of Manipur in India. And they all rescued women were brought back to Nepal, and after a few days of counseling and legal assistance, they've been reintegrated in the families. So these are some photographs of these things. So there are a lot of challenges, though out of these, the nature of trafficking has expanded. So do the trafficking rackets, thus demanding the effective monitoring in formal and informal institutions. So we need to have a very strong monitoring mechanism as the trafficking manifestation is increasing, and they're coming up with different forms. There has been increasing exploitation of female workers in the entertainment sectors. The causes of trafficking are complex, so we need to have united action, which is not yet there. So with this, thank you so much for your patience. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Bisho Ketka, for telling us about the situation in Nepal. I'm happy to introduce Virginia Wangare from Germany, founder of Maisha Germany, and founder and chairwoman of the European Network of Migrant Women.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon to you all. As I was introduced, my name is Virginia Wangari Greiner, and I come from an organization called Maisha. Maisha, Germany. Maisha means life, and is an organization that was founded by African women in the beginning of the 90s, and we felt that African women voices needed to be heard, because when we came, we didn't have any counseling centers. Nobody understood where we came from, what brought us here, and many women had very, very many issues, very many issues. So we were confronted with very many issues as young mothers and young women, and we felt we have to voice our voices in this society. As I said, from the organization Maisha, I also represent European Network of Migrant Women, which was founded 2007, again by migrant women living in the European Union. The reasons of founding this European Network of Migrant Women was, again, our voices were not heard, nobody represented us on the European level, and we felt we needed a platform where we can share our issues, our expertise as well, and also to lobby for ourselves. And that's how we founded the European Network of Migrant Women, through the help. In fact, we needed help, and that's why alliances are very important. Partnering with a bigger organization, we were supported by the European Women Lobby. They assisted us in founding the European Network of Migrant Women, and we have an office in Brussels. I was the chair from Germany. The chairship rotates. I chaired the European Network of Migrant Women for 7 years. And at the moment, the chair is in Ireland. Yeah, among the members of this European Network of Migrant Women, they have a broader expertise on issues pertaining to migrant women and girls. All members have got a lot of expertise on the national level and have been also lobbying a lot on bringing issues that are affecting us to the EU level. We are always asked to bring recommendation on various issues on our European level as well. In Germany, we also managed to support, to found an organization called Amigra. That is a national organization that represents migrant women living in Germany. So we managed to build our own network on a bigger way, that we can represent ourselves here and we can represent ourselves on EU level so that our voices can be heard. Prostitution on women and girls, we see it as a gender-based violence and as a product of inequality in the societies and barrier to equality. So we think that if this issue was addressed, there would be less victims of prostitution and trafficking. These are the following areas which we have identified as a barrier to make the women have their full rights. One is prostitution on women and girls, domestic violence, somebody also mentioned FGM, female genital mutilation, honor killing, trafficking, forced marriages, and sexual reproductive health and rights. First, we also have still to acknowledge the many national governments who have really been trying very hard to implement laws that protect women and girls in European Union. Secondly, we should note that majority of African women living in Germany are not involved in prostitution, because most of the time when somebody sees us on the road, they always think we must be a prostitute. All women who are here, some came as students, some came as because of the war, and some were trafficked. So we have very many diverse of reasons why we are here. Thirdly, we should note that those links, there is a big link between trafficking and prostitution when it comes to women and girls. Where there is trafficking, most of the time there is also prostitution. The majority of African prostitutes in Germany have been trafficked through from Nigeria and Ghana, through Spain and Italy. The recruitment is done initially through friendly madams, aunts, who promise a good job, in some cases opportunity to get higher education abroad. However, the trapping of success is already visible by the villas, but which are built by the madams. The aunts have, many of them always show there is a big villa in the neighborhood, and many girls are trafficked because they see a neighbor mother is doing much well. So it is always a reason for promising and showing and promising at the same time. So many African girls, even when we conducted a conference in Nairobi, there were many girls who just said, oh, why don't you take me to Europe? And we started, in fact, working through theater of the girls who have gone back home. So we are having, for example, we have Maisha Ghana, where women who have been trafficked have gone back home and are working through theater, are agents of illegal migration and trafficking. They are working and doing sensitizing work in their home countries. And we find that it's very important to reach out to the communities, to reach out to the parents, so that they know when somebody comes and is promising you wonderful things in Europe, is not always the best just to give a stranger your child to take to Europe. It also involves, it has gone as far, it's not only voodoo priests who are involved. In these cases are also the pastors, church pastors are involved. They are given big money as well. And it is because before we were always talking about voodoo priests. In this trafficking and prostitution, there is a lot of money. So the methods that are used are, in fact, our own infrastructure and beliefs where most of our parents go, and they know the person who is most trusted is a pastor. So when a pastor gets a lot of money from a trafficker, he will give his blessings and will also encourage community to take part in migrating to Europe with the promise it will do the church better and it will do the whole community as well good. We also see here that the blessings are given by those pastors. With the voodoos, there is words which are done that, so that you swear that you can never get out of prostitution, so you become a slave before you even leave the country. And this is done through personal parts of your body, hair parts, and also some of the clothes, and sometimes also the families are also involved, so that the link between you and families, your own family, cannot be destroyed. That means when you disappear, your family is accountable that you disappeared. And they have to pay the debts that the trafficker is questioning. The network involves lawyers, law officers, migration officers, border police. Guards end up being disappointed about the false promises but have large debts to repay for outlay of that madam made to get them to Europe. For many, the life of stress begins to get the money to pay the madams, the bills home, which they left behind, and they hope they are HIV and HIV/AIDS positive. Sometimes they have to sleep with over 20 to that men a day to reach the target of the madams, of the amount of the money the madam want per day. They feel treated as criminals and not victims most of the times. Those girls and women live a vulnerable life and often discriminated as well as a black woman and a girl. Sometimes they report trafficker to justice and expect protection and asylum, but they are often deported back home. So they learn to avoid authorities who in fact should be there for them and to protect them. I believe that this situation should be reversed and a sustainable solution should be found so that gender-based violence can be eliminated for good. This is what happens when we place the problem elsewhere. It increases sex tourism, increases STDs and HIV/AIDS in African countries. Traffickers will simply be left to continue exploiting women and girls. Gender inequality and gender violence should not be seen as an African issue, but rather as a global issue. This is our recommendations. Recognize trafficking for sexual exploitation as a violation of women and girls' rights. Identify a girl's victim. Early intervention is needed here. Develop special measures to identify and protect girls and women at risk. Secondary victimization should be prevented. Training on trafficking and sexual exploitation from gender perspective. Cooperation between NGOs and authorities and working in partnership with many other stakeholders. Improve data research on identification of victims. African women and girls must have access to education, training, and jobs in African countries. Returnees who are deported back or go freely must be granted training, reintegration programs, and funding the organizations who are working with the victims. Economic aid should be linked to education of women and girls and the drive to gender equality. Thank you for your attention, and any questions I will answer.
Thank you very much, Virginia. Unfortunately, we won't have any time for questions. I would like to thank very much our panelists, each one of you, and end with saying that no matter what country, no matter what legal framework, what's most overrepresented in prostitution is the last girl. And I think our message all is that this last girl should be put first by countries and government. Thank you for listening.